Hey guys, I'm Poya, one of the co-hosts here at Bridges of Belief. Thank you so much for tuning in and being part of the BOB journey. It means a lot to us. Just want to do a quick trigger warning for this episode. There is a mention of suicide, so if that's something that's going to be triggering for you or distressing, anything like that, please feel free to just give this episode a miss, and we'll catch you on a future episode. Lots of love, guys. Hope you enjoy. Hey guys, welcome to the latest episode of Bridges of Belief. We're here in this new studio. We're stepping up, moving up in the world, and we're joined by your third co-host, right?
I think you could regular guest.
Regular guest, okay. Let's edit that out.
Struggles with commitment.
We are
committed shishes.
It's because we're not from America.
Kev thinks
he wants to be on a podcast that's in America.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I see Slide roasted you because he was like, he said to me, he's like, oh man, we should have Josh tonight, and it was only like yesterday. He messaged this. He told me this a couple of days ago, and I was just like, nah, Josh won't be able to do that much short notice. He's got a short notice problem.
No, Kevin has a.
I believe in you, Josh. I'm not as cynical as
Kevin has like a perspective of me that like I don't like commitment. That I don't like spontaneity, which it is like I know it seems that way.
No. You do like spontaneity, but it has to be organized and structured and like.
That's not spontaneity then.
Yeah, but. Maybe that's
you like spontaneity, but you don't like spontaneity. You like spontaneity, but it has to be organized, structured. It can't be spontaneous. Like
I don't mind spontaneity if it's like low commitment, but when it's something, but when it's something you know, because to me your word is important. When you know something that's like going to take a lot, like to just willy nilly say yes and then actually not be able to follow through to me means something. So like I'd rather properly.
See,
that's my process.
He basically judges the crap out of ADHD people. Because me and Josh are going to an event next week, and you told me like 2 months ago. My brain is like I can't even think beyond what happens 1 week from now. But anyway, because it's in the diary, it's in the diary. But anyway, go on. Yeah.
Well, I guess that ties into today's topic in a way, because being a man of your word is important. It's part of being a man. I guess what are we talking about today? Being a man. Men.
We don't have a topic, do we?
Screw it. I'm going to choose a topic. I want to talk about what does it mean to men and emotions, because I think there is a lot of confusion about how men should express themselves emotionally, or whether they should even express themselves emotionally. Would you like me to elaborate?
Yes, please.
Okay, let's go. So I think there's this man called Jason Wilson. He has a beard, so he's legit. And he said that emotions are a good servant, they're not a good master. And I think what I see right now.
That is such a good quote.
Killed that one.
Wow.
He killed that one.
Yeah, wow.
But
can you elaborate what that means?
What that means is emotion.
Wait, just before that point.
Can you elaborate what that means?
We were just talking about this in the car. Can you first give the setting of what the current climate is around what people think about men and emotions?
Yeah, so this is just my perception, but I'm usually right, so it's probably right.
Yeah.
There's this. So what I see is two extremes. You have these men who are just very emotional and very reactive, all of that stuff, or very victim-y. Your incels, all of that. Then you have these other guys, the opposite, these guys who are just super into like Marcus Aurelius, you know what I mean? They're always like quoting the meditations, all about I'm stoic, I am a stoic man. Like suffering, yes, embrace suffering, which is good. But what I'm seeing is an overcorrection to the point of where a lot of men think that being masculine is not feeling their emotions.
So you're saying you feel like there's overcorrection to the being like overly masculine now, or they kind of conflate masculinity with not being emotional? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. What I'm saying is the bit is that they're conflating masculinity with just not even feeling emotions or having moments of what you would call quote unquote weakness. So I'll share an example, right? Let's say a friend of yours dies. I think the healthy thing to do is to cry about it. Some people don't cry, that's fine. But some men do cry. Some people do cry, and that's okay as well.
Yeah.
So if you're a crier, cry. Feel your emotions, sit in a room, be sad, talk about it with people you trust, fully feel the depth of your pain and your grief. Catharsis, release it, right? That will then enable you to move on and proceed with your life and heal. What I then see is a lot of men will bottle it up because they're like, no, I got to be strong. I got to show up. I can't be weak. I can't be emotional.
Well, that's been like the knock against men for the longest time, right? That we just aren't in tune with our emotions. We'll bottle it up for 80 years and then have a heart attack.
Yeah.
But I feel like in the, like, I would say like 2010s onward, there has been like a shift in men's mental health transparency. And to the point now where some people would say it's overcorrection the other way, like men are too feminine or effeminate. But in what you're saying, that you're still seeing men who are, they're so full masculinity that they're like, I can't show emotion. Are you able to give some examples of like where you may be seeing that? Are you seeing it online a lot? Is there any certain influencer that you feel like is a great example of that kind of person? Or is it just conversations you're having with your own peers and friends? Like, where are you seeing that overcorrection most?
Andrew Tate.
The Tate dog.
Yeah, which I think with the younger generation, he's really taken off.
That's
and I think it's because of that overcorrection. So I think now it's just a pendulum, right? Start from one extreme, boom, over here. Oh, this is bad. You just go in between extremes. You just bounce in between. Yep.
It's funny how people struggle to find the balance.
Yep.
With anything.
Yeah. And the reason why is because emotions polarize us. That's why when everything is bad, we're just like, everything is bad, nothing is good. And when everything is really, really good, everything is good and nothing is bad. But the truth is in the middle. And pretty much what happens is, like, the more polarized and emotional the masses are, they will just swing from right side to left side. But the truth is always in the middle. And it's always trying to center. Where, for example, Poya was talking about how one side, men are too emotional and then men are not emotional enough. And the balance of that is where men can hold their emotions and express their emotions, yet not completely fall apart. Or, I was thinking about this in the car, Poya, if they fall apart, they have systems to do it in the right way. They don't, like you said, I think there's no better quote than what you just said. When men allow their emotions to be their servant and not their master. Because I think that when if a man allows his emotions to be his master, I think what that looks like is outbursts. That looks like allowing him to completely indulge in his vices, destroy his family, say hurtful things, just completely wreak havoc on his entire environment. Whereas a man who allows emotions to be his servant is not a man who cuts it off, but a man who allows himself to express it in a very healthy way, which could mean expressing it with boys that he trusts, expressing it in a way where he doesn't fall apart, but there's a sense of like groundedness to him expressing it. Yeah. There's a difference between going, oh my God, I'm falling apart, blah, 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 blah. And there's a difference between going, you know what, I'm actually feeling really frustrated right now. I'm feeling really hurt right now that you said that or you said this. And that part of me, it feels like this, it feels like that. So there's a groundedness while you share your emotions as opposed to completely falling apart. So that's my definition of making your emotions your servant rather than your master.
Yeah. Do you know what's funny? Like, I think we've all done like Myers-Briggs here, and people feel multiple ways about Myers-Briggs, but I think it's still like quite a good assessment tool to use to kind of understand yourself better. And when you met me, or maybe a while back, you said you thought I was ENTJ.
Yes.
Which is more on the, I guess you'll call it logical side, less emotional side. But in reality, I'm ENFJ.
You're an F.
Yeah, see, even right now, you're surprised. I'm same as you. I'm ENFJ. I'm not T. But I think it would seem that I am T by my ability to just stay poised and cool and not let things seem like it's rattling me or persuading me. But I think that's the thing, right? Like, even if you feel a lot of emotion, are you able to use it as a servant and not as a master? Because I feel like when you do, even whether you're an emotional person or a non-emotional person, you will still have the presentation of someone who's in control. Versus some other people, it's very clear that they're an emotional person because like they never are able to kind of handle it or have self-control over it, if that makes sense. You know? I think...
Yeah, you know what, Josh? I think that's a really good definition. It's the ability to have emotions, but not like it's just self-control of your emotions.
Like, okay, this one might be... So say you're in a relationship, right? And I think we've probably all gone through this. You have bad news to give someone. I've gone through this before, kind of recently. Like I have bad news to give someone. I didn't think it was going to be bad news, but like it was going to be constructive criticism maybe. And when I shared it with the person, the reaction I got was, oh, I don't know if you can handle constructive criticism without it blowing over. And I think that's like another example of
self-control.
Yeah. And you see how like your inability to have that self-control and to be in control of your emotions can lead to you not having conversations that need to be had. But vice versa, the person who, no matter what you tell them, they never shed a tear. You know, like someone can die in their life, they never cried. Like Bill Burr is like the example I think of, where I think of like someone who talks about how he bottles his emotions up 24/7 and then like brings it up in his comedy specials of like him yelling at people randomly. You know what I mean? Like it's very, people struggle with it a lot, it seems.
You guys have raised interesting points because I think, I wonder if there are times where it's appropriate. So, okay, let me say the thought, and I'm going to give examples to further clarify the thought. The thought I have is, so there may be times where it's appropriate to express an emotion, and there are times where it is not. Example, where it is not. Someone's giving you constructive criticism. You feel very angry because you're triggered, but you control your reaction. You don't lash out. You acknowledge that you're angry, but you control your reaction. And you take it on board and you think of it logically. And maybe if you're still angry, you go away and then you do some breathing or whatever, punching bag. I don't know. Something like that. Your friend dies. I'm coming back to death one because I think that's where men really struggle to deal with their emotions in a healthy way. Your friend, loved one dies. In that moment, it is appropriate. I would say if you feel you need to cry, you need to fall apart, it is appropriate to do so in a controlled environment and get it out of your system and actually process it and meditate on it. Does that make sense? Or did I just...
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, because I think... But then you're still feeling, I guess I just said, if you're angry, you don't react, then you go away and you process it.
Well, yeah. Can you give them the context? Like of why you're bringing this up? Because obviously something's happened.
Yeah. So when I went through what I went through a few years ago with a bunch of people dying in my life, I felt I was initially trying to express my emotions to my friends that I trusted in a very healthy way. And it's the same old story of people giving you advice when it's unsolicited. So I've made it pretty clear this is just how I feel. So I had a close friend die and I had like a relationship that ended. And people would just give me advice and say, you can't control your emotions. And I'm like, mate, I'm not going crazy. I'm going to the gym. I'm doing my job well, doing everything right. I bloody bought a house in that time. But people, because I was actually feeling my emotions, people projected onto me that I wasn't in control of them or that I was being emotional and that I wasn't resilient. When I think when your friend kills himself, sorry, I should put a trigger warning without the beginning episode. When your friend kills himself, and you've gone through a breakup a few months later, I think you're going to probably feel pretty sad about it. And I think it would be a different story if I was, going around doing drugs, drinking excessively, like hooking up with girls, eating heaps of junk food, lazing around. I didn't do any of that. I was going to the gym, I ended up signing up to jiu-jitsu, as I mentioned, actually went and bought a house, then made steps to find a place to rent, changed churches, all that. I was quite productive. But what happened is it made it worse because I couldn't deal with it, and the people I trusted weren't there to support me and be a safe space for me to express my emotions, that I actually bottled it up for a year, and then it all started pouring out. And it just made it a lot more painful than it needed to be. Well, what could have been dealt with maybe in a few months took a year. Right. What are you guys' thoughts on that?
So
this comes from a personal place.
How do you think it should have played out?
I think it would have just been good to have people just there with me as I suffered. Just sit with me and just be like, yeah, cry. It's cool. And just be like, yeah, just sit there. I didn't need advice. And this is something you've gotten really better at, Kevin. Now when I'm upset, you just let me be upset. You give me a safe space to be upset, and then I get over it. But before that, like I had friends where...
No, you can say what I did.
Yeah, look, you could have been better, but...
No, go for it.
Yeah, like you would give advice and stuff. But again, I say this, and you took on the feedback when I gave you that feedback really well, so I want to honor you there. And it was on me not tell. I should have told you initially, so that's on me as well. But what I found unhelpful was when
rip into me.
Oh,
Rip into my...
Destroy him. Thrash him.
The past Kevin, was just giving me advice and just telling me, just do this breath work or read this book. And really, I just needed a mate to talk to. And I was going to a psychologist as well.
Yeah.
I hate that as well. People like, just see a psych. You need both. They offer different things.
Yeah.
And
can I say something on my angle?
Go.
So something I discovered. So first of all, I started feeling very distant to you when you started bringing that up with me. And the reason why I started doing that is because it took me a while to realize that I just found it very uncomfortable because I didn't know how to support you at that time. Because I'm a coach. So primarily I'm used to just, helping people do something and helping people take the next action. But what you needed in that moment was someone to just listen to you and allow you to feel what you need to feel and just be there, in that moment. And I think that I struggled with that because we've talked about this before. I remember one day we were in the car and you just said to me, Kevin, I think the reason why you struggle to, because, I will admit this, as a coach, there was a period where I struggled to actually have compassion. Like I was super motivated to help my clients, super motivated to get them to success, super motivated to get them to the next step. But in regards to allowing them to feel the sad emotions that they felt and giving them compassion during that period, it's like the great example of Jesus when he raises up Lazarus. He knew he could raise up Lazarus, but he wept. Why would he weep if he knew that he could bring him awake? And the reason why is because he shows us that he can be with us in those moments and weep with us when we weep. So coming back to it, I think you said this to me. You said, I think, Kevin, the reason why you struggle with compassion is because no one had compassion for you. And that's because I felt like in order for me to survive the environments that I came from, I had to just take responsibility. I had to David Goggins it. I had to just take responsibility. And when you said that, that really hit me. So I realized after that moment, I wasn't really allowing you to be you. I wasn't really... So I felt really uncomfortable with that. But then I just felt it. I felt that distance. And then, because if I'm being honest, I made up these stories in my head. I was just like, Poya's being a little girl. Poya's not, all of this stuff. But the realer that I've become, the more honest I've become, so much of it is with your help and with you just giving me your authenticity and just speaking your mind. It's really helped me to just be able to now take responsibility, but to be able to have compassion for myself and therefore have compassion for others when they are going through their tough times. Because you said something very, very interesting about, because remember, me and you used to talk about this all the time. I struggled with victims. I hated victims. I hated the victim complex. But it's like one thing you said is you can never help a victim by not allowing them to feel what they need to feel. So like you can never go to a victim and like someone who's in the victim complex and just be like, take responsibility. When does that ever work? When does that actually ever work? It never works. So like there's a whole bunch of self-development people. This Poya first says this to me and I was like, that actually makes so much sense. There's a whole bunch of personal development people out there that are like, take responsibility, don't cry, sit and cry, look at yourself in the mirror, call yourself fat. But it's like, when has that ever worked? Never. It never works. So anyway, I just want to come back to your story and saying that like, yes, totally. I wasn't a good friend to you at that time, but you taught me a very valuable lesson in that. And I'm sorry that I didn't get to be for you in that way. We've talked about this before, but in that way, you've definitely made me a better friend. And I would even say you've actually made me a better coach, right? Because I actually saw the difference in my coaching. So many of my clients, because they didn't feel my compassion, they just knew that I just wanted them to get to the next step. They didn't really, they didn't feel safe enough to be able to process those things. You know what I mean? So you've made me an extraordinarily better coach even after that experience. So I don't know, such a tangent, but I just wanted to share that.
Thanks, Brad. Well, I think this ties in because it's us. Even now, we're embracing our emotions. We're actually being tender and gentle and affectionate and honest and vulnerable. And I think that's what I wanted this episode to be. And just to give you your flowers, even today I was sad. I was upset about something.
Yeah.
And I called you and you're in the middle of gym. About going to one, I said, I actually really need to talk to you about this. I'm going through something. And you're like, yeah. And you just were there with me. And I feel amazing now. Still was with me for a bit of the day, but you gave me space to just be sad about it and you didn't judge me.
Yep.
And I can say right now in this room with you guys, I feel much better about it.
Yeah.
And yeah, that just shows to me that you took that feedback on. And I've seen it. There's been so many other times where you've just been there for me. It's actually kind of weird the first few times when you did it. I felt like, is he just can we bring back the non-helpful Kev? It was just weird.
Bring back Savage Kev.
That's definitely.
Now I'm thinking like, how are you showing up to your coaching sessions to your clients pre-Kev with the one that had no compassion? Just like, hey, I'm struggling with this today. Like, oh, you piece of.
Well, I think there was definitely like, I'm not saying there was zero compassion. There's always some sense of there's care. Like one thing that my clients know is that 100 billion%
you care.
I care. Like that's one thing that they were never in doubt about because I was obsessed with helping them. But in regards to, am I comfortable enough for you to sit through your emotions and for you to feel what you need to feel? Without expectation of when that needs to end for you to kind of process that and get to the next step. There was a rush to that. There was kind of like, okay, let's just get this out of the way so we can take you to the next step and get you out of here. So infinitely it's made me a better coach. And I would say now the healing work that I do, which is a lot more gone down the healing route, it needs compassion.
Yeah.
And we were talking about this today. So once again,
I do think it's funny because when you talk about like different styles of, say, thought leaders or influencers and how they approach their audience, like say like the Tate versus the Peterson, on numerous occasions, like you see Peterson cry in an interview. I don't know if you guys have seen this.
Yeah. It's cool.
It's cool. I respect when I see him cry. I'm like, you can see the compassion and the care, but also compassion in how he feels about those who listen to him.
Yeah.
Not to say that Tate wouldn't care, but
Tate definitely have some separate challenges. But yeah.
But Tate's approach is definitely different. I think it is much more in a stoic sense rather than like the emotional sense. But what's interesting is because the point you're bringing up is the overcorrection, which is being overly masculine to the point where you think that you shouldn't show emotions at all. And I have seen...
Which is tight.
I have seen some elements of that as well, even who I listen to. Like, I'll listen to Adam Sosnick, who's part of the PBD crew.
Oh, yeah.
And he's a big, advocate of the idea of stoicism, which I'm not against stoicism. But
it has some utility.
It has some utility.
Yeah, for sure it does.
Yeah. But, obviously, it shouldn't be stoicism or nothing, right? It makes me feel like guys understand the idea of like a physical release. Like, okay, if I'm upset, if I have a lot of emotion, let me go to the gym and work it out.
Yeah.
Do you think guys they underappreciate or underrate the idea of an emotional release?
110%. Yeah. I think that's an amazing way to articulate because they're very different.
What you expressed before about having Kev listen to you, that wasn't a physical thing. That was an emotional thing that he provided for you. That was still a release of your tension. But guys don't exercise that route a lot.
No, there's this.
No, but I think that's such a great, because if I was to look back at this situation, I think the reason why is because I was uncomfortable with it, which is a typical representation of what happens in society times 10.
My roommate told me he loves me today.
Yeah.
Now, we're both heterosexual men, just to throw it out there. But in like a platonic friendship, you know, friend to friend where it's like, I love you, bro.
Yeah.
And I said it back, but like I mumbled it back.
Yeah.
Because even no matter how much we talk about it, there's a certain element of like, oh, you're being a bit of a sissy right now.
Yeah.
Hey, Josh, I love you.
I love you
I
too.
really do. I
love
do.
you too. Look, I've said it. Yeah. I'm not incapable of saying I love you.
Yeah.
But like I felt the hesitancy. I was like, damn, like Josh, like why do you allow this to? Why are you saying this in such like a way?
Is this the no homo? Did you feel the no homo sensation?
Have you watched my video on that?
Because you have a brilliant video on that.
It had nothing to do with sexuality.
Okay.
It had to do with unease.
Yeah.
It was an unease of
Yeah.
brush that off.
Yeah.
It's a bit ugh.
Yeah.
Another angle. Do you feel like maybe it just wasn't right for you to say it, and you felt that you had to say it?
No.
Okay.
Because I know, like, it's all true. It's all facts. Like, I know he feels that way about me. I do feel that way about him.
I liked how you ticked that off the list before you went into what you were about to say. That's brilliant. That was brilliant.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate that, man.
What were you about to say?
So now that was out of the way, now that it wasn't,
you think that maybe it was like
you felt like you needed to. Now that that's out of the way, now
obligate.
I was actually going to say something different that was unrelated. So we can come back to me. Did you have something to add on to?
Well, I talk about this in the no homo thing, and this is probably the most viral video I've ever made, is on the concept of no homo. And I mentioned that used to be this thing called no homo where if you say that
it's still out there.
Yeah, still out there. So
no, actually, I'll let you say.
They say pause, no homo, no Diddy. And
whatever it is. So it's like what pretty much happens.
No Diddy's gone viral. There's like actually a video online of a dude getting into a fight. Oh no! A dude was in at like a diner ordering, and I guess like a prankster comes behind him, kisses him on the forehead. The guy's like, "Hey, what are you doing? No Diddy!" Like just
what's no Diddy?
Because Diddy would.
Do you know what happened with Diddy?
Oh yeah.
Maybe we should be careful with
got
litigation or something. I don't know how it works.
We haven't accused him of anything. Oh, okay, fair enough. Everything is alleged.
Diddy Fiddy.
Did he do it?
Diddy Fiddle.
Did he do it? And it kind of goes too well. The diddler. Did he do it? Did he not do it? Like, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Always.
Just saying about that. Let's go back to no homo.
Zoning out halfway.
Okay. So we were talking about no homo, right? And I think that's a perfect example where no homo, just for anyone listening, is pretty much this term that guys would say to each other if after they would say something that was a bit of a compliment. It was almost like saying, hey, I like your shoes, no homo. Or I like the way that you did that, no homo. Or you look good today, no homo, man. And the way that I see that was almost like it's a way to protect myself. It's like what I really want to say is something that makes me feel vulnerable, but I'm so scared of how I'm going to be viewed for that I need to put Mr. Homo or no homo at the end to make myself safe, right? And I think that is the most pussy thing to do ever, if I'm being honest.
It's very pussy, but also...
Because in honest, the most powerful and powerful, strong, confident way to do things is to be like, I love you, bro. And just like look at his eyes and be like, I mean it. And I don't need to put no homo there to make myself feel safe.
The way he looked at me just then, Poya, was a bit like predatorial.
Full homo.
Like capital homo, right?
Oh, yes. Okay.
I think that's something as well that needs to be discussed with like how dog eat dog guys are. Like when I was speaking to some of the ladies in one of the dating coaching programs I'm like a part of, I let them know like how guys to guys, how we deal with each other and our behavior, how different it is when we actually deal with females. How like when we deal with females, we put the gloves on, we're kind of delicate. We're like, we try to treat them very gently. But like with guy to guy growing up, like throughout high school, how we're raised, like how brutal will it be for how quickly, if you show weakness, you'll get destroyed, like emotionally, psychologically, like guys will just come for you. So that wall is built up from early years you can't show weakness right now.
I think that also comes down to the friend group as well. I would say in Kellyville High, like the school that we used to go to, there was definitely groups where it was like that. But when you, to a certain degree, got to choose your friend groups, me personally, I didn't end up, choosing that.
I get you.
Yeah.
So my question would be, okay, what percentage of guys evolve out of that? Probably maybe quite a high percent as they get older.
Yeah.
Versus what amount of guys kind of stay in that mold though?
That's a really good question.
And then two, even if you as an individual evolve out of that, how much of it still kind of sticks in you? Even if you're in a new friend group that is open to it? Because like I gave the example this morning, right? Like he said it to me. I would like to believe that I've evolved out of that fear of not showing my vulnerabilities.
Yeah.
But even then, it still comes and kind of nudges at your cloak and says, hey, I'm still here a bit. Don't forget me.
I've seen it in you as well, myself. I think so.
Wait, what does that mean?
Yeah. But I think that's a really good question. I think that you know what, these days, Josh, and I don't know if you'd agree with me on this, because of all the media and there's been a massive insurgence of personal development and personal development concepts around feeling your emotions and talk to me, bro, and mental health. And I think because a lot of so much promotion these days, I think that it's actually rare to find a typical guy that's like, is completely like anti-emotions. I think it's become a little bit more nuanced than that, if I'm being honest.
It is interesting though, because you still see certain...
But there is still, like it is still
pockets.
there. It is still there. And of course, to a certain degree, each man has his own level of vulnerability that he can take as well. And he's even aware of.
It would be interesting to like, if there's been any like major surveys or studies done on what's the overall men's thoughts on this topic now. Because, like, say, Poya, you're bringing up, like, maybe right now you've been exposed to a lot of sentiment around guys being overly masculine to the point of not showing any emotion. But is that just purely algorithms? Or is that the reality of what it is? I'm not saying you are, but, like, can you be in echo chambers that keep showing you men who are, like, ultra masculine? Or has it actually evolved more than we think it has? We just... aren't exposed to it as much. Like, I'm curious to know, like, what is actually the main perspective on this topic now and how men feel towards showing emotion.
So is your question...
It wasn't really a question. It was more like a curiosity.
I see it more personally. Echo chambers. Yeah,
Because, like, I see, like, the spectrum now, I feel like, is so wide between someone who's ready to transition into a woman of how feminine they feel versus someone who's like, don't say gay around me. You know, like...
Speaking of, who's recently heard Eminem's new song?
Houdini? No.
Oh, we gotta be careful. We're getting into cancelable territory. I didn't know when to lose my job.
He says an interesting line where he's talking about...
Kev will cross the line, don't worry.
I'm editing this out. This isn't going in.
No. He just goes...
I thought he was about to hit stop recording.
Yeah, there's a really good lyric where he says, if the old me saw how the world is today, he'd probably think this shit is gay. And I thought about that.
No, man, what's the line after that?
And then he says something really...
I mean, happy.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, I mean, happy.
Oh, bro, that's funny.
And it's like, oh, that was so genius on so many levels. I thought
it was but it's also like I've heard that before.
Yeah.
It's not a fresh take. Like it's a good song. I love the new song.
No.
It's
a fresh take in the sense it's Eminem. So Eminem represented the 90s where things were to a certain degree.
Oh, he was always the guy going against the grain. He was always him and Kanye, like the two, like just say whatever.
Yeah. Speaking of, man, I have to put it down there. I know this has been said 1,000 times, but like a white guy in like a black culture just dominates and becomes the GOAT. What a beast, man. Like this is so off topic, but what a beast. I think is one of the most inspiring feats ever for someone to do what he did. And I have so much respect to that guy. I don't know about
Eminem's a badass. He's a badass.
Man.
You literally, no one can doubt his lyrical ability, and he sold hella records as well.
Yeah. And his ability to tell a story, Josh.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's like I feel like I know Haley like she's my sister.
I'm curious because you say you're not really into hip hop or rap too much.
Yeah.
But it sounds like you listen to Eminem a lot.
No. I did listen to Eminem a lot back in the day. Like it was definitely how I got through my torture from my dad, but definitely I would say he was part of it was definitely part of my culture. I'm not a big rap guy, but the whole concept of him just coming and dominating rap was very inspiring to me, especially as a white guy, because I know, especially when you watch the movie 8 Mile, you kind of get a sense of like how dominated that culture is by black people because they're invested in it, you know what I mean? And they just got there invited, and he comes there, and imagine how much of the whole masculine thing that he would have copped. You know what I mean?
Dave Chappelle had a funny joke in one of his early specials, Killing Me Softly, where he goes, when you ever see a white guy in a gang full of black guys, like that white guy is the most dangerous person because there's no telling what he had to do to gain those black guys' respect. So for Eminem to rise to be the cream of the crop, like he probably had the hardest. He probably had the hardest road, or he had to do the craziest things. But I will say at the same time, him being white probably worked for him and against him at the same time. For him in the sense that obviously America is still predominantly white.
Yeah.
So you are still the majority, even if you are the minority within that culture, rap culture. But then again, you're the only white guy in a mostly black culture, so that also hurts.
Yeah,
you.
it's also because the town he was in, and
Detroit.
where he grew up in that particular place was like predominantly black as well.
Yeah,
So that's another thing.
Eminem is he's wild.
He's the GOAT, bro.
Definitely. Who's everyone's favorite rapper here? I'm just curious.
I would say probably Eminem. Oh, you know what? Surprisingly, I actually have a fair few. Even though I don't like rap that much, like I have a fair few. But I would say one of my favorites is probably Juicy J. Is that a surprise to you?
Who's Juicy J?
Bro, Kev, bro, I did not expect that to come out your mouth.
I'll tell you why. Let me explain why.
What's Juicy J?
He's also a rapper, bro.
No.
He does a lot of stuff with Wiz Khalifa. Like
the reason why I like Juicy J is because all these rappers these days, they try so hard to say something that you never understand. It's like Drake cannot just say, I made out with this girl. He can't. He has to say, 6'5", 6'5", 4'7", did blah, 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 blah.
That's what makes it pop off. You got to put some sauce on it.
But this is why I like Juicy J.
Lover boy, certified.
This is why I love Juicy J, because he's just straight up like, I had sex with the girl and I was in the car. And he just says it straight up.
Kev, do you want to take it to the next level?
Care.
Do you know who you need to listen to?
Yeah.
Birdman.
Birdman.
You think Juicy J keeps it simple? Birdman don't even rap. Birdman just gets on a record and just starts talking. Birdman just starts talking to you about his life.
Right.
Like, I went out to dinner tonight. I got the French fries and the this and the that. I got 10K in my bank account, or like whatever it may be. Like it's not even raps. It's not even like poetry. It's just him talking to you about how well he's doing in life.
So, in other words, just going off what you've said and what you've said, Kevin, you like rappers that have no wordplay and just no creative skill. You just like it straight as. You're like, I don't want to have to think about this. I don't want to have to like
get him, Poya.
I just want to know. It's like the
tell
rap.
me.
It's like
you want the food fast. You
I would say genuinely my favorite rapper is probably Eminem for sure.
Okay.
For sure it's Eminem, but Juicy J, just the way he does it is so funny because he has specific songs voice, and he's got really good beats.
I think I got some stuff that you're probably into. I feel like I can tell. Oh no, I don't know what your beat taste would be, but part of me feels like maybe I would know more about it now.
A lot of bass, but yeah, go on.
Poya, I think did you just answer your favorite?
Kanye West.
No, don't spoil it. When you mean rapper, do you mean just purely as a rapper or as a musician overall?
Musician overall.
Because if it's just rapper, I'd say Kendrick. Musician overall, Kanye. I don't think Kanye's the best rapper, but I think he's not my favorite rapper. He's my favorite musician.
Okay.
And I think his raps, especially recently, just haven't. They're not at the same level they were before, but with his production, the way that he just plays with sound and creates new sounds and like gets like 3 songs in a row, picks the bass line from one song and the drums from another, puts orchestral instruments in there, and just brings it all together. Man, like Dark Fantasy, My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, that is probably the best album I've ever listened to in my life. And
what's your favorite song from Kanye? Is it from
Come to Life? It's from Donda.
Is that your favorite?
That's probably my favorite song of all time, Come to Life. It's the one that has speaking in tongues in it. So it's about him. He's crying out to God. It's like him. It's just like him. It's he's not a good singer, but in that song, he doesn't modulate his voice and he sounds beautiful. So he obviously took singing lessons, but it's just about him surrendering to God. And it's beautiful. I cry most times. Most times I listen to it, I'll end up crying. Not always.
Actually, I want to listen to that now. I don't think I've listened to that.
Donda
the last album of Kanye I actually listened to was Yeezus, probably.
Bro, Donda is beautiful.
I listened to a bit of what was the one with like that Kim Kardashian looked like on the cover? Not the latest one.
Oh, not the latest one.
Not the latest one.
Nah, Pablo. Pablo. That's a good
Pablo.
one. That's an interesting album. That's a very bipolar album, genuinely, because the first half is all ego and the second half is self-loathing. First half is him being like, I'm a god, I love myself, I'm the greatest, I'm like the Jacksons. And the second half is him like, I don't even know who my real friends are, and like it's and like, oh I'm on the antidepressants.
I feel you. What's the theme of this podcast? Do you guys ever just riff and talk about like social stuff and just joke around, or do you always keep it to like self-development and healing?
It's self-development, but it's fun self-development.
It's fun. Anything.
You gotta break it up with fun. It's the boys.
It's 3 people who love Christianity.
Into the mic.
3 people who love Christianity and personal development who talk about whatever they want.
Like we have a topic, but
I'll take you a lot of places.
Yeah,
I'll take you everywhere.
Yeah.
I want to be with you everywhere. Is that? Are we gonna copyright for that? I don't know.
I don't think
a parody
copywriting.
I don't know how it works.
Like singing, that's wild. Like, don't use those tones.
Yeah.
Don't use that pitch.
I want to be with you everywhere. Hi. Bit of James Brown.
Anyway,
that's a good James Brown. Oh, you don't know who James Brown is, do you, Kevin? You don't really have good taste in music, so you want to know. You know who James Brown is?
Yeah.
Yeah, the whole funk.
Hi.
Hi. James Brown.
Oh, that was not bad.
Kiss myself.
That was not bad.
Feel good. And I look good.
Josh, you don't listen to electro, do you?
No, I did. Bro, when I was coming up in high school, like, dubstep was the wave. Like, I don't know if you put that underneath the electro umbrella, but like,
I'm not a big fan.
I've heard it all, bro.
Yeah, dubstep's alright.
But do you listen to house and stuff?
Yeah, every once in a while.
Deep house.
Look, I'll listen to anything. I'll tell you what, when I was in New York City, bro, one of the things that was amazing to do was I was walking the streets of New York for the first time, listening to Elton John, Yellow Brick Road. And let me tell you right now, I was on a different planet. Like, 70s, 80s, like everything, every era has some like crazy nuggets in it that if you can go appreciate.
Do you ever listen to Bowie?
I don't know who that is.
David Bowie?
Oh.
David Bowie.
Maybe if I heard some of his songs. Like, I know he's super famous.
Yeah.
But like,
he's freaking something else.
MJ? Big fan?
Michael Jackson.
Yo. Yeah. No. MJ or Prince?
MJ.
No, because I've been listening to Prince recently.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
Prince, I have never dug into his albums. When I hear his hit singles, I'm kind of like, what's the big deal? But people compare him to Kendrick while Michael Jackson's like Drake. And I feel like if that's an appropriate analogy, that would tell me I need to listen to Prince's albums, not just his singles.
Yeah, Prince also, I think he played most of the instruments on when he was recording, or he can play every instrument, but he did everything on his records. Like, he's a multi-instrumentalist.
I'm on MJ's side. They're like off the wall. Thriller.
Bro, MJ is just bro. Some of his music and some of the beats that were coming out from him, like the Thriller beat, is just like that. How does that belong in the 80s? Like, where did that come from?
The 80s?
That don't belong anywhere. Where does that belong?
In his own parallel universe.
Yeah, he's doing his own thing.
You know what? It like defined a lot of things moving forward, right? It's like when you think
like Game of Thrones did.
No, not really. Game of Thrones didn't really define.
Oh, it so did.
How didn't it?
So did it.
But how did it?
So did.
I don't know.
Okay,
But maybe,
I'll
am I right?
you get a lot of these
I'll
like.
explain it to you. First of all, after that show came out, so many medieval shows became big.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
Number one.
Okay.
Number two.
Oh yeah.
Number one. The whole twistedness of culture of like the whole how many people do you hear going, oh, that was some Game of Thrones stuff, or do you want to hear really what happened? It was like some Game of Thrones stuff. Like that's a normal terminology.
I get
that
you,
happens.
but how many medieval stuff's out now? Like
heaps of stuff. Vikings, Valhalla.
That's not medieval though.
That is medieval.
No,
but
it's like medieval. It's like old. It's like swords.
And Game of Thrones is like almost like that's fantasy as well.
But what it did start is high budget TV. Blockbuster TV.
Yeah, okay.
Because you didn't have. Well, you had Sopranos.
What about Breaking Bad, Sopranos.
No. But like it's genre blockbuster, right? So shows like all the Marvel shows we have now, all the Star Wars shows we have now, like Mandalorian, Acolyte. If you're into Star Wars, none of that would happen if it wasn't Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones showed that you can take a genre and make it into a TV show that looks good
and that everyone can love.
But not only that, it's big, has a budget, looks cinema quality. Because Game of Thrones, when it came out, was like the same quality as the fantasy films in the cinema.
That is true.
And it was the first show to do that. And then ever since that, now we get all the Marvel shows. I don't know if you guys are into Star Wars, but all the Star Wars shows as well, big budget. And even DC. Now DC is moving into TV as well. None of that would have happened without Game of Thrones.
I get what you mean. I think you make good points. But I'm curious, so like Disney, like their budget in itself, like I don't think they would need GOT to make. But they didn't.
GOT showed that there's money to be made. Because no one, GOT made TV prestige.
I think that's one fact in regards to TV, but I think there's so much more it did for culture and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
Like it showed that that was the first medieval show, or with swords and let me put it like that, swords and fantasy and like Lord of the Rings type of stuff that the whole world got into. Like most people would just be like, oh, you're a Lord of the Rings person. And you're like a Bad Boys movie person. It's
because it did have a bit of everything, right? Like the political intrigue of Game of Thrones, I think in the dialogue is what captivated a lot of people. Like, hey, if it was just dragons flying around burning people, I don't think would have.
I know what it is.
And it's also their ability to show characters that have the both good and the bad within them.
It's that, but it's also grounded fantasy.
Yeah.
So it's not like I must ride into battle, my dear Rohans, for Gondor. Oh. It's like, I'm going to effort kill you, mate.
Yeah, it was very raunchy.
It was raw. It felt like if you took real people and put them in that world. Lord of the Rings is high fantasy, where it's very over the top. It's
elves.
It's elves, but even the way they talk is like different. They don't talk normally. It's almost poetic. It's musical. In Game of Thrones, it's grimy. It's dirty. It's like
that's true.
But
you know what? It's the first show. This is what I'm saying. There's so many layers to why it changed. Because the other thing was the biggest thing that we forgot was the whole idea that all the good guys die and you never know who's going to die.
Yeah.
That's kill off all the characters.
I think it definitely did that.
So many shows now just kill off like any good guy now because they're just like, okay, whatever that happened in Game of Thrones. So much changed from culture because of Game of Thrones.
Yeah, that's undeniable. The way the world reacted to it. Because, man, George R. Martin, my lord, can he write a story? Like...
Can't finish one, though.
Yeah. George, you can get him, George.
No, can you focus on writing the last two books?
By the way, just really quickly, Poya, when is the next House of Dragon coming?
Next week.
Season 2 is about to start.
Yeah. Bro, that is so exciting.
You want to watch it together?
Bro, I'm telling you, I just feel so invigorated.
In the mic,
like,
mate.
It's been so long since I've seen a show that I'm just glued to.
Yeah.
You know what's a good show that I've been watching recently?
What?
You're both going to roll your eyes, but trust me on this. X-Men 97.
I started watching it.
Is it?
Did you like it?
I started watching it. I did.
Story or is it a new story?
I did, but I didn't watch the whole thing.
It's a sequel to the 90s cartoon. But the writing is next level. I was just like, I'll put it on. I binged like the first 3 episodes. I'm like, what is this?
What's the first episode about?
It's where
about,
Sentinels.
Like, Cyclops is getting married and...
No, he's already married, isn't he?
Oh, sorry, he's having his baby, and then it's about him potentially leaving.
Wait, that's like the
then
third
Wolverine.
episode.
Oh yeah. Sorry.
The second episode
Sorry,
is
spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert. But but even that storyline gets, dude. No, that storyline gets intense.
I gotta watch it properly.
It's dark. It's dark. But like episode 2, there's this.
I'm sold.
It's
I kinda wanna
political.
watch it
Some of Poya's suggestions, I will tell you. Some of Poya's suggestions, sometimes they can flop, but sometimes they can hit.
When have they ever flopped?
When have they ever flopped?
For me, if I'm honest, I'm watching Atlanta and I'm just like,
bro,
Atlanta's so good.
I'm gonna swing on Kev.
okay, hang on.
Atlanta, as I said, it's not for you.
I do like it.
You're too white for it. I'm too white for it.
But it's not like, okay.
Join me.
Okay.
Atlanta's the best.
I watched it.
Atlanta's so good, bro.
Have you finished it?
I've watched the first like 3 seasons. It's phenomenal.
Bro, season 4 is insane.
Okay, but maybe I'm not getting.
Let them defend themselves, and then we can trash them.
Yeah, for sure. For me, it's like I like the first. I like watching it, but it's like I don't know. There was no sense of like I want to stay glued. I want to stay glued to this to like know what's gonna happen next. I don't know. What am I missing?
Okay.
What am I missing?
It is episodic. Like each episode is just unto itself. It's not as much of a linear.
Season 2 is pretty. Because season 2 is all
okay.
about.
What do I need to know? What am I missing?
Okay, so
what am I missing?
Season 2, where are you up to? Has Clark County come in?
Who?
Because season 2 is very 2018 rap. Because like,
he gets the $4,000 from Tracy.
Oh yeah,
and then he needs to triple it.
Do you remember that rapper, the corny one, who's like got the ad, was like yoo-hoo, yoo-hoo. That's meant to be based on Chance the Rapper.
I've forgotten these episodes now.
But it's funny they brought in a black Justin Bieber.
Yeah, well, that's an amazing episode because the whole thing is like, is it because he's white that he gets away with it? What happens if he was black? That was the point of that episode. It was looking at like archetypes in music.
Right.
So the black Justin Bieber
there's
was
a lot
like
of themes I don't get. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like it's very. Have you got the Michael Jackson episode? Have you got up to that? You'll know when you get up to.
No,
Okay, you haven't.
That one was wild.
That one was wild. Yeah.
I didn't like that one as much as everyone said it was good though.
But do you know who the character was based on? It wasn't just Michael Jackson.
It was like some serial killer.
Marvin Gaye and Michael Jackson.
What? How's Marvin? Like I don't know.
I'll tell you after the spoilers, but
if they hadn't seen
Marvin
Atlanta by now, they didn't even deserve.
No. But for Kevin's sake, I don't want to spoil it for him because
okay.
Read up on Marvin Gaye's life.
I'll keep watching.
Just read up on Marvin Gaye's life.
Yeah.
And then watch that episode.
There's another thing Poya told me, bro. Poya, he pinned me to watching, and I know you still believe it's good and stuff, but for me, I really struggled with Better Call Saul. It
was so good.
I just don't like
in the mic, buddy.
But this is the thing, Poya. It's like,
dude, nah, man, that's why.
Okay, this is the thing that like this is the thing that sometimes I get pissed off with you. Sometimes I get pissed off because it's like there are definitely things that are like kind of like you can send someone like you can be like, okay, Game of Thrones, most people like it. But it's like if you particularly like something for specific reasons, you can't be like this is gonna be good and you're gonna like it. You know what I mean? You can't say that. You gotta know what they like as well.
What do you?
But why did you binge it then?
You get what I'm saying?
You binged the whole show.
I get what you're saying, but Better Call Saul is like known as a very great show.
It is, yeah. That's the thing as well.
So like
that's why, like, but okay, you know what?
And Kev seems like you're deep. You like the art. Like you seem like the kind of person who like the art. The fact that you don't like rap, now I'm like being awakened to who you really are. But like I always imagined.
Who's your favorite rapper? We haven't got to you who your favorite rapper is.
Oh, I want to hear this.
K-Dot.
Mom, oi, how good was that beef?
K who?
It's like worth like
Kendrick?
It needs to be studied.
Yeah, Kendrick.
Right.
Yeah.
It does need to be studied.
The real ones will catch that.
Yeah.
So much.
But
I took a week off. I took a week off to just sit. No. Like my life was productive.
Yeah. Okay.
I was coming from insurance camp from my workplace. We came back.
Yeah.
And while at insurance camp, like Kendrick dropped Euphoria, and
I hate the way that
I
you
started
talk, the way that you walk. I hate the way that
I started
you dress.
dissecting it, and when we returned on the Friday, that's when it started picking up, and I was just watching every review, every tweet. Like I got on Twitter, I realized how messed up Twitter was because of that beat. I didn't realize how messed up Twitter is.
Damn,
Twitter is a cesspool.
Yeah, you got to tell me. You got to tell me. You got to educate me.
But
on which part?
Can
Twitter
can we tie this into the topic because it is a bit about that.
It's a cesspool. Go.
Kendrick's whole thing with Drake is partially about him not being like expressing a form of masculinity that's toxic.
Like I want to be the greatest.
Like Drake's whole thing is like he's not authentic at all. It's all a show.
So?
No, he's not authentic. He's like he tries to act like he's hood, but he was like a kid who grew up in like a middle class area. He was a child star.
We don't know what. It seems
But
like
then
who Drake is now seems like it's not Drake from before. Like,
No,
it
it's
seems
not.
like
What do you
Drake.
mean by that? No, what do you mean by that?
It sounds like Drake touches people. Like,
Yeah.
What do you,
Wait, do you mean as in
wait, what do you
bang
mean
bang, skid
touches?
skid, or?
Like, yeah.
Oh, sorry. I don't mean it in like the sexual way.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah. Allegedly.
It seems like from because like I said, when it's dropped, I like started listening to all the reviews and like the way I viewed Drake started shifting because what a lot of the YouTubers and reviews were saying is like how Drake has evolved over his career,
Yeah.
and who he's associated with now, you know, like mob ties and all those kind of things, and things that has happened in areas and environments he's been in. You're like, oh, is Drake going around like moving, you know, a bit thuggish, you know? And maybe he's not, or maybe he's just drunk off power. But like things you used to not assume about him, now you're like, oh, maybe he does, you know, get busy. I don't know.
What do you mean get busy?
We can't say it. You know, just look at me.
stuff.
Look at me.
Just know what we're saying.
Kevin, just look at me.
Nah, he doesn't listen to rap enough. We need to like.
Yeah, he's
No, I honestly,
too
I
mayonnaise
have
for
no
this, bro.
idea. I have no idea.
No,
But-
I'm just playing
but-
around.
I'm
but-
assuming what you're talking about is like gang ties and stuff.
Is that lovey dovey? I'm your brother. It's too late for all that. You know, that's okay. Don't worry. I can't. I don't know.
Just like I think the idea of like just mob ties. I think
We'll edit this bit out.
Right.
We'll edit this
I
little
love how
bit
you
out.
say
But
it and
like,
you smile.
why can't we talk about that though?
Because
like, I'm just curious.
it just creates problems. Yeah. So Kendrick. So you know, you're saying like Drake's maybe PA is a bit different now. I think that's part of what Kendrick was saying. I remember there's one line where he's like, "You're too scared to stand in your masculine next to a woman."
Well, even the whole rap beef thing is a very interesting thing because in that mode, like Kendrick's usually known as like a conscious dude who like
Is he though?
known as it. Yeah, like if you look at his body of work,
But I don't think that's what he actually presents when you look at his music.
Wait,
well-
Josh, what do you mean by conscious?
as in he tries to like put out art that is for the betterment of mankind,
Yes.
and it's trying to uplift and bring
Right.
healing,
Elevate the
rather
consciousness
than
of people.
rather than like what's the word, making a cycle of ignorance go around.
Yeah. Like primal stupidity.
Yeah, like, hey, how can we look at life in a more loving, healing, compassionate way?
Right.
Respect, yada, yada, yada.
Right.
Yeah. Yes, I agree. But I think in a lot of his songs, he also shows that he's a walking contradiction.
Yes, which I also relate to.
Does he admit that?
Yeah. So there's a song called Triple X, which features U2. Great song. And there's one line where it's like, somebody touched my son, somebody getting killed. And then he walks into a classroom, like he's about to do a talk at a school. He's like, all right, kids, let's talk about gun control. So he does this whole bit where he's talking about how, like, if anyone messes with his family, his loved ones, he's going to kill them. As soon as he finishes that, he's like, oh, crap. Opens the door. You hear the door open. And he's like, all right, we're going to talk about gun control.
Yeah, he's very transparent about his hypocrisy, which I can respect because I know that I'm a hypocrite as well.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't like. I'm very detached from the idea of perfection outside of Christ. Like, I do believe in the idea of trying to be the best version of yourself and striving to be better. But I'm very detached from the idea of expecting people to be perfect and to not be hypocrites, because everywhere you look, you see it.
Yep.
Even the people who don't think they are, put the telescope? No.
Put the microscope,
Put the microscope to their lives, and you're going to see a lot of contradictions. So I'm detached from that. But I do want to stick on the point you're making, which is Drake and the toxic masculinity.
I think Drake, and I want to be clear on what I mean by toxic masculinity, because I think everyone has a different meaning for it. So I think most of the time people don't even know what they don't even
define it for us then in your terms.
So in my terms, it is an expression of masculinity that is not actually masculinity, but it's an expression that is toxic. And I think there's also toxic femininity, which maybe we can touch on at another time. But it's an expression of it's an expression of self that is labeled masculinity but is not. So for example, an example of toxic masculinity within this definition would be, I don't feel any emotion, I don't express emotions, I don't cry. Andrew Tate is, and I'm not trying to hate on Tate, I've I hope he works on
hate.
No,
No,
I'm not trying to hate on Tate.
No,
I don't.
Hate.
I'd love to. I mean, I'd be open to having him on. I don't agree with his views, and we can chat about that. I'm open to having dialogue.
He is a good speaker, though.
He is. He's very, and he's very charismatic.
Posh should be perfect.
There's a lot to respect about that guy.
Posh should be perfect.
He has a
spitting, bro. Like.
Yeah, no, he is, and he's very. He is very. I guess he's articulate.
I think he's extremely articulate.
Yeah. You love him.
But obviously, at the same time,
in the mic, mate. In the mic.
I love him.
Kevin keeps talking away from the mic.
Yeah. You love him. Oh my gosh, you're biting your finger. Oh my gosh.
I think a lot of people like him, to be honest.
No homo.
He was fanboying over him.
But I think with Tate, there was one. He was on George Yanko's podcast, and he said he was talking about when he was in prison, and then he said I had water coming out of my eye. He said I don't cry. Then he said I had like water coming out of my eyes, and George is like, hold up, that's crying. He's like, no, my eyes leaked while I achieved. And that is the perfect example.
Yeah.
I know, and it's kind of funny. It's a bar.
By the way, this is something that I wanted to say this to you for a while, and I think you know this as well, Poya. It's like when it comes to Tate, he is a protector.
Yeah, do you want to clarify what protector means?
Yeah, so protector is essentially a part of yourself that you put on in order to protect yourself from another part of yourself that is just hurt. So, for example, anger is a protector for being hurt. So, for example, when I was in school, I got hurt and felt like I was bullied. So I created a protector of being very masculine and very strong and very popular and very just like, oh, nothing hurts me. And I use this protector. Andrew Tate is a protector because it's coming from hurt. David Goggins is a protector because it's coming from hurt. It's all coming from fear, really, because they don't want to be that hurt again. So they create a protector in order to overcome that fear. Right? Yeah. Now, that is why he and I've realized this because I used to be exactly the same as him. All the views that he used to have, I used to have this. This is literally all the views that I used to always talk about back in the day, like militantly. And what I mean by this when it comes to Andrew Tate is that with Andrew Tate, he obviously has not had an experience that's broken him to a point where he sees value in being able to be emotional and share his emotions and actually share his negative emotions. Because he sees that as a very bad thing. So he's exiled a part of himself away and he over-relies on one part of himself. And what that will mean is the problems that he's going to face is when he's in a relationship, he will never have a fully fulfilling relationship because he will never able to be fully vulnerable. He will never have a depth of friendship that me and you will have because he is too scared. It's actually fear. He's too scared to be able to show that side of himself. So you could say on one end, not being like that has definitely helped him be powerful and successful. But also it has cost him as well that side. And maybe at one point he'll be able to show that side of himself. But for now, this is what we see.
I feel like he's starting to. His George Yanko interview, he was a lot more authentic and vulnerable. And this is, I think, because we got to wrap this up
because George was compassionate. Yeah,
George was compassionate. We got to wrap this up in 5. Is that right, boys? 5 minutes. But because George was compassionate. George didn't attack him. George was like just open to listening to him, but pushed back with respect. And you could see Tate was like, this guy's different. Yeah. And he started to be vulnerable, and he started to be curious.
Yeah. And he was just like, you know what? Maybe some of the things you're saying are right. Maybe there is something inside me that I haven't explored. So I respect that about Tate. You know?
Yeah, I'll give him props there.
So this is so interesting. 3 things. One is, can you shift a bit to the right? I see in your camera you're going a bit to the left.
Yeah.
To your left. Shift to your left.
Yep.
Yeah. A bit more than you're good. Secondly, I'm curious, with the Tate thing, okay, he's a protector. I get what you're saying. I'm also very curious if that's just all for the camera. Behind closed doors, all his close friends know he'll be vulnerable. He'll show you how he really feels. But when he jumps on camera, they all know, this is a character that he just throws on for the world to watch because it gets clicks, it gets views. Maybe that's always who he is.
No,
but I think there's a lot of people who just do it for the camera. That's not.
Yeah, I definitely think that he's exaggerated on the camera.
Yeah,
but it definitely still shows what he shares as well.
Fair enough. Here's my third thing then.
Yeah.
I think a lot of these speakers and influencers, they're very hip to the landscape of who's who in the influencer world, and George is a very respected dude amongst, I don't want to box it like this, but I would say Christian and right-leaning people, I would say. And I don't think if George was to push back on Tate, I think Tate knows this isn't the guy to try to beef with or to try to go against. Like, if he says this to me, I'm going to allow it because George is, like, well-respected. But if it was someone else...
maybe there's a bit of that, but I don't think that's what it was.
I don't think at that time George... I think the Tate interview might have been what got George there, because I think George still had the stigma of when he walked off Logan Paul with that Bobby Lee episode.
You're saying the Tate interview is what made George popular?
I think that's what blew George up.
The Tate interview.
Because George got with Patrick Bet-David, and they're both... I don't know how. I imagine...
I think George has been up for a while. I think Impulsive is what blew him up. Then he went his own way.
But it also did kind of bring his stock down in the sense that... You know about the whole thing with Bobby Lee when he like walked off?
George and Bobby Lee?
Let's...
Okay. We'll talk about that another time.
He's like, stop this.
Is that a protector?
No, it's just getting to a point. Like, it's, yeah.
It's getting to a
No, because you mentioned 5 minutes ago.
It's not 5 minutes. I'm keeping a time on the...
Oh, okay.
You don't trust me, Kev?
No, go for it.
Now my protectors are up.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah, go for it.
All right. We probably should wrap this up. I feel like it'll be good to summarize what we've said. What are the points you both would like to...
I think I'm going to reiterate that powerful quote that you said, which is healthy emotions with a man is when a man allows his emotions to be his servant and not his master. I think that is a brilliant quote that you mentioned.
Nice. Nicely said.
That was a great quote. I wanted to use that one.
I think we all did.
He got to it quick. Yeah. I think, guys should definitely realize that there's multiple ways to release your tension, whether it is through physical activity or whether it is through emotional conversations. Like, that is also a very great way to release that tension that's within you. Like, don't just go for the gym, like, talk to someone.
Yeah.
Nice. I love that. Mine would be...
I'm just mucking around with you.
What's Kevin
doing?
You're on camera. I don't think he would even show that part.
I'll show it.
All you gotta see.
Kevin.
You're built to go viral.
Bro,
he's built to go viral in like a dirty way. Like,
Kevin's gonna go viral for saying like something that
he gonna get cancelled. Kev's built to get cancelled.
Bro, it's scary being friends with this guy. I'll tell you what.
Kev's
the best. I love this guy. I would not. If I had to march in a battle with anyone, it'd be Kevin.
Thank you.
Yeah.
My man.
I love you.
All right, just shut up. Sorry.
Go for it. Love you. No, go for it.
I love you.
Go for it. I love you.
Love you.
I won't say such toxic things right now.
That's right. You're just not healed yet. So
if you're gonna say no homo, then you've got a problem.
No, I'm not gonna say because I don't need it. And that's all right, man. Your protectors, we'll work on them. We'll get to exile. Yeah. So my main point would be, just feel it when you go through stuff. Feel what you need to feel. Just do it. Just rip the Band-Aid off, and you'll just heal sooner. People being
jump off the cliff. No, I'm joking. I'm sorry. I should be serious right now.
No, that's right. No. It's just whenever you go through stuff, think about how you're gonna feel the emotion, and think about how that affects others. So, for example, if you're angry, go to a quiet place, release into a pillow, whatever. But in terms of grief and all of that, just feel it and set aside time. There's this, I watched a TV show where there's this thing, it's like 15 minutes of grieving, where this person just puts a timer on for 15 minutes, cries and grieves the loss of their mother. Things like that are really helpful. But also, have the physical release, what you said, emotional release. But just be sad if you need to be sad, and just let yourself feel it, and you'll just get over it quicker. Because if you don't, it will just slowly damage you. While you can just fall apart for like maybe a small amount of time, and then you're better than ever. That's my point.
Yeah.
Awesome. Beautiful.
You look like you're ready to wrap up, bro. You're tired, bro. Am I still good for that lift home?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you got kids and stuff. How are they doing?
Yeah, they're good.
You're asking him that like he doesn't see him.
Dude.
All right, guys. Thank you for listening. Hope you found this valuable. This is Bridges of Belief. See you later.
See ya.
That was a great wrap up. That was a great outro.